Hey everyone, and welcome to today's episode. I want to talk about my first week as a junior at SUU. I was trying to decide if I should put my first week as a junior, my first week as a junior in college, but I decided to put at SUU because it was shorter. So I've been at SUU all along, but I wanted to clarify that I am at college and not in high school. Not that it really matters, but I just wanted to write that down because college is very different than high school. So there were a few things that happened this week that kind of cracked me up and were a little funny. So I wanted to share them and then just talk about things that have happened and how I feel about this semester. To get started, I kind of want to share something funny. I have a professor, and I have him actually for 2 different classes, which is kind of fun, and I really like him, so I'm totally okay with it. But he says K so many times. He says just K a lot. Because he says it so often, I thought, it might be fun to keep track of how often he says K. Now, I didn't say this was a good idea. I just said that that's what I wanted to do. So the first day, I was sitting next to one of my friends that I've known for a semester. She's in my ward, and we both decided we were going to keep track of how often he said K. So probably like 5 minutes in, maybe 5 to 7 minutes in, we started keeping track, and in about 40 minutes, he said K 187 times. Can you even believe it? It was crazy. I had him the next day. I decided to keep track again. And this time I was in a different class of his, so still him, but it was a different topic. And I decided to sit in the front row because, that's who I am. And in the front row, I was a lot closer to him than in the other classroom because this was a much smaller class. Anyway, I kept track, again, of how many times he said K. He only said it 135 times this hour, and I was counting all 50 minutes. So I feel like that's pretty impressive. Definitely different than the day before. And I think it's because when he gets super into a topic, he says it less, which is kind of interesting. You'd think he says it more, but he actually says it less. And he really, really loves the second class that he teaches. He says he loves both of them and that he's living his bestest life, but the second class is his little baby and he loves it. After class, he saw my tally marks and he was like, "Are you keeping track of how many times I say or something?" And I was like, No. Maybe how many times you say K though. And he blushed so badly. I felt like a monster. I felt so bad. I was like, "Kyra, why did you do this? That was so dumb." He seemed to act and take it pretty cool, but I felt really, really bad. So then the next day in the other class, I told my friend about what happened and she laughed. And then I said, "We can't keep track today because I just feel too bad." And she said, "Okay." The next day, I went back to his class and we were just talking before class started a little bit. And he's like, "So have you started keeping track yet? I think I've already given you 3 or 4. And I was like, oh my gosh. He said it in a funny voice though, so I wasn't too worried about it, but I said, "No, I actually felt really bad about it last time, so I won't be doing that anymore." But anyway, he handled it like a champ, and I felt really bad, but it's fine. I'm sure he won't forget. I'm sure that he will forever remember me as that student, but hopefully I can be my normal self and ask questions and answer questions to where he forgets that I did that. But worst case, he doesn't. It's not like I was doing something awful, but I definitely kept track of how many times he said K. But it's hard when he says it 187 times in one period and 135 times in another period. It's just something that you want to know. And then, because I took statistics last semester, part of me wanted to keep track many times to get lots of samples and then to do statistics on it. Anyway, that was probably a very bad idea, but that's what happened this week. Additionally, this professor and a different professor told me that the paper we were going to be writing in this class would be my favorite undergrad assignment ever. That this assignment would be something that I would always remember and something that I would never forget, and it would be my favorite. And I told my cousin about that, and she said, well, one of them's lying, because both of them can't be your favorite assignment ever. And I said, that's true. So I'll keep you updated on which one ends up being my favorite. I'm not quite sure yet which one will be my favorite, but who knows? Guess we'll find out. So I'm the choir president, or one of the choir presidents in Institute. I take Institute choir, and I have for the last 3 semesters that I've been at college. And last semester and then this semester, the choir director asked if I would be one of the choir presidents. So I'm in charge of Tuesday, Thursday, and then the other choir president's in charge of Monday, Wednesday. And we just kind of get class started. We ask people to say the prayer and the thought and the closing prayer and pick a song to sing and ask the accompanist if they will play it. And I've had a lot of fun doing that. I remember on the first day I went to choir, the choir director learned all of our names in one period and then said all of our names, and it was really impressive. And I remember I could never do that. And then last semester I figured it out and I did it. And then this semester I did it again. I definitely missed 1 or 2 people, which is difficult. But, I mean, you can't be perfect. And then the next day of choir, so Thursday, all of them had changed clothes, obviously, and had different hairstyles. And so that was a little bit hard to try to remember some of their names. I ended up remembering most of their names, which was good. Nevertheless, I do want to work on a few select people's names because I keep forgetting them. I told the choir director that, and she said, go after them and remember their names the most. Like, make them your target. So that's what I'm planning on doing. But anyway, I really love being the choir president. I'm really excited for this next semester. I love the opportunity to get to know people without being creepy or weird. Because I'm the choir president, I can say, oh, I'm just getting to know you because I'm the choir president, rather than just being some weird girl who goes up and is introducing herself to everyone. I've really enjoyed that, and I've really had a good time getting to know people. One thing that comes with that is that I remember their names and their faces from then and from forevermore. When I walk through campus, the chances of me walking past someone I know, or at least know their name, are very, very high. And I've had many friends tell me this when we're walking together. She's like, I bet we're going to run into someone that you know. And I'm like, yeah, you're probably right. And every single time, without fail, someone passes that I know, or at least I know their name. I always say hi, and it's just funny to watch people's jaws drop occasionally when I remember their name. People that I've had classes with, if I've learned their name, I'll remember it. So they might not remember me at all. We had the same class one semester, but I just remember their name. For example, there was this girl that was in one of my classes my very first semester, and she just ended up talking a lot in that class and raising her hand. So I just remembered her name. But that class had 80 to 100 people in it. So she probably has no idea I was in that class, but I just remember her name. And so I saw her the other day and said, hey. And she gave me the weirdest look. She was like, who the heck are you? I just remember people's names. It's definitely a blessing. I'm very grateful for it. It's very nice to learn someone's name and, show them that they matter and that they're known. So, yes, I run into people that I know all the time. I'm definitely not popular, and I don't know if there's necessarily people popular in college, but I do know a lot of people, and that's kind of fun. But when I walk by myself, there's definitely lots of people that I run into that I know. And I'm always like, hey. Because my philosophy, in my opinion, is you never know when someone's having a really hard day or a lot of stuff is going on in their life. And so if you say something and you say, hey, and you say their name, I don't know if it kind of like brings them out of it, or at least let them know that they're not forgotten or that people know them. Who knows? It could make their day. I don't know. And so I do know that when people have waved to me and I'm having a hard day, it's made me feel better. So I keep that same philosophy. If I say hi to someone and they're having a bad day, hopefully that helps them have a better day. And I think that's how I guilt myself into saying hi, even if I feel uncomfortable sometimes. It doesn't happen very often where I feel uncomfortable, but every once in a while I'm like, I just said hi to like 3 people, and it would be weird to keep saying hi to people as I walk, but who knows, maybe that person needs it. One of my other favorite things about starting a new semester is meeting new people in different classes. And I'm really grateful for this, but I have the ability to just go up to someone, say hi, and start talking to them. I really appreciate and really admire when people will reciprocate that and want to get to know me back. That's a lot of fun for me, especially when you know that they care or they want to make friends. And it's exciting because the options are limitless for friends that you can make. Every stranger is a possible friend. And I think that's a really cool philosophy to live by. There was this one girl, she had a class in the building that we were just leaving, and then she had another class right after that. But she followed me, she walked with me all the way to my next class to talk to me, and then she walked back. And she told me that, and I was like, wow, thanks, but it was fun to talk to her, and she said, well, thanks for entertaining me, But anyway, I just appreciate getting to know new people and getting to make new friends. The wonderful thing is that my memory is pretty good most of the time, and I can remember the things that people tell me, and like I said, their faces and names. And so it's a huge blessing for me when someone tells me something and I can remember it, because then, once again, they feel known and remembered and valued. And that is exactly what I want them to feel. Another thing that happened this week was that I bought a parking pass. Last semester, I didn't really need one. I just parked in the open parking and parked down the street of places that were open, which could be a challenge in of itself. But this week, I decided to buy a parking permit for this upcoming semester. A few of my classes were right next to the parking lot that requires a parking pass. So I bought one, and that's been really convenient and really nice. I don't regret not buying one last semester because I didn't need it. But this semester, it's really nice. My first class of the day is legitimately the building right next to the parking lot that I parked in. So anyway, and then there's this other parking lot that is next to one of my other buildings for the first class of the day. I got back to the parking lot after a day of school, and I got in my car and pulled out, and then it started raining, so I turned on my windshield wiper, and a note moved. So I stopped my car because no one was in the parking lot, and I got out, kept it running, pulled the note out, got back in my car and opened it, and it says, "Nice parking, Karen," with a winky face. And I was so irritated and so offended. And the problem was that I already pulled out of the parking spot, so I couldn't check my parking to see if I really did park awfully and no one else could park next to me. Because for those who don't know, Karen is a name that people have assigned women who are difficult to work with, who, quote, ask for the manager because they want to complain about something. They don't really think about others. They're very inconsiderate. And that's just a name that society has given people women specifically, who are difficult. Do I agree with it? Not necessarily, but that is the case. So now that I've given you a little background information, someone left me a note that said, "Nice parking, Karen." So my first thought was, did I park awfully that no one could park next to me? Did someone think I was being inconsiderate? I felt really bad. But then I was also irritated because I thought I did park good. I was pretty confident that I had parked within the lines, even though they're really narrow at the school's parking lots because they want to fit more cars in. But I couldn't check because I'd already pulled out, which was unfortunate. I just kind of moved on, threw the note away because I didn't want to keep looking at it and remind myself about how irritated I was at it. My thought process was, who the heck took the time to grab their backpack, take a notebook out, take a paper out, grab a marker, and write that, and then put it on my windshield just because they were angry that I didn't park well? And once again, I thought I did park well, so I wasn't sure. The car spot next to me was empty, and so I was like, maybe no one really could park. Maybe I parked right in the middle. I don't know. I just kind of let it go, and I was a little irritated about it, but I was like, this is not worth getting upset about. It's not worth my time. I will park good the next few days. I'll be okay. And then, isn't that kind of a fun sound effect? And then I found out from my cousin that it was her husband who did that. Sometimes he calls me Karen as a nickname just because he thinks it's funny. And we have a friendship, so him writing that on a note and putting it on my car did not make me irritated at all. In fact, I laughed a lot after figuring out it was him, because I was so irritated about it, and had I known it was him from the very beginning, I would have not been mad at all. I would have thought it was just funny, he was teasing me, it was just a loving tease, and so on. And apparently he told his wife, my cousin, and asked her if I had texted her about it. She was like, no. The reason I didn't is because A, I was trying to let it go, and B, because I didn't think it was him. and he thought that I would recognize his handwriting. Yeah, well, I didn't. Now that I know it's him, I don't care in the slightest, and I think it's funny. On Thursday, he left me another note, so I got to my car after finding out it was him earlier that day, and there was another note there. And this time I just laughed. I got out of my car to pick up the note because I saw it. Read it, same note as before, although there wasn't a winky face this time, so I was a little disappointed about that. Next time, he should keep it consistent at least. I got out and I thought I saw a car that looked like his, and so I went over to check the front of the car because he has a certain license plate decoration on the front of his car, and it wasn't his. So I just went back to my car and got back in. I happened to have my door still open. And this guy in front of me that was parked got out of his car and he said, "Hey, are you okay? Did something happen?" He's like, "I just saw you get out of your car and check this other car. Like, are you okay?" I laughed and explained the situation to him, and he kind of smiled and chuckled. He was like, "Oh, okay. Well, you have a good day." It actually meant a lot to me that some random stranger was checking up on me, making sure that everything was okay, even though he didn't know the situation. I think more people in this world should be like that. I think more people in this world should check up on each other, even though maybe we're strangers or maybe we don't know one another very well. Him saying that to me made my day, and I really appreciated it. Even though I was just trying to get back at my cousin's husband, I was going to leave a note back, but it wasn't his car, so anyway. All in all, it was kind of funny afterwards. I was irritated at the moment, but 2 days later I found out it was just him, so it was all good. That being said, before I found out it was him, the next 2 days, I checked my parking so many times. I double-checked it, I triple-checked it, I walked around the car, I made sure I was in the lines, I made sure I was in the middle so that people could get in their cars. I felt so bad. Just in case I did park bad, I wanted to make sure that I did not park bad again. Well, it turns out I had parked great all along, and he was just giving me a hard time. I don't know why he came up with nice parking. Didn't really apply at all, but that is what he said, so there you go. I'm really grateful. This is kind of a twist in topics, but I'm really grateful for my schedule this semester. I think it's going to be a self-care schedule, honestly. All of my classes are going to be interesting. I'm really excited for them. I'm really excited to learn and grow. I think all my classes this semester are very, very applicable to my life and very applicable to human life in general. I'm taking a lot of family services class, family life and home development classes, and I'm really excited about that. I'm taking family problems and solutions, marital problems and solutions, human development through the lifespan, communication, which I want to get better at, especially if I want to speak to other people. Institute choir, which is just wonderful and I just love it. And then personality theory, which I'm really excited about to learn more. That's my one psych class this semester. I think it's a self-care schedule. I'm really excited about it. I think it's going to be really easy. It's also nice with my work schedule. I work nights 3 times a week. Last semester it was a little bit hard because I would get off of work, have an awkward 2-3 hours to sleep, and then I'd have to get up and go to school. Well, this semester I just stay up because my shift ends at 8, and then my first class is at 9, and then 10, and then I'm done. So I have 2 classes, and then I can go home and sleep. The only thing with that is that I've been trying to decide if it's bad to sleep all day, and I've come to the conclusion that I don't have anything. I'm keeping my social life alive. I get to hang out with someone that I really appreciate hanging out with at work. I talk to people at school. I still spend time with my roommates here and there. So I've decided that it's okay if I sleep, and if I really want to get up, I can set an alarm. I did sleep 18 hours on Monday, which is kind of a lot. Sunday was a very busy day, and then Monday I worked that morning. I went to sleep at 12:30 or so because I got off of school at 11 and then decided to have lunch and just hang out. So I think it was around 12:30, and then I didn't wake up till 7:10 a.m. the next morning. I think that's about 18-19 hours, which is kind of crazy, but I guess my body needed it. And that's kind of the dilemma I've run into. Do I sleep that long, or do I set an alarm to get up? I kind of decided that it's okay. It's okay to sleep. It's okay to take care of myself. It's not like I'm sleeping because it's a coping mechanism. I'm sleeping because I work nights and I'm tired. Okay, the last thing I want to talk to you about today is having a strong foundation of who you are. And obviously this could be many episodes. There's lots of books written about this topic. But the reason I want to talk about it today is because one of my professors is very political. I've actually been warned about him, that he is very political and that it's sometimes hard to take classes from him because he's very vocal about his politics. I was warned about him, but I decided to take the class anyway. And just the other day, he said something that kind of, I don't know, it had a hint of politics in it. And it was interesting to me because at first I was like, wow, that's really good. I should write that down. And then I stopped myself for a second and said, yeah, the grand theme of that is good, but I feel like there's also a political agenda behind that. And I don't want to talk about politics, but I do want to talk about having a strong foundation of who you are, and how when you have a strong foundation of who you are, you don't have to believe everything you hear. And I'm definitely not a cynic. I'm not someone who doesn't trust anyone or who doesn't trust easily, but I definitely think there's value in going to the right people to learn things from, because sometimes people will take advantage of your trust and share things that you don't maybe necessarily want to listen to or want to grow or learn from. Anyway, this happened in class, and I wanted to make sure that I was staying strong of who I was and what I believed, and not letting his politics or his beliefs sway mine one way or the other. I think as a child in elementary school and middle school and high school, it was an interesting lesson for me to learn that you don't have to believe or you don't have to trust everything that teachers say. They're in a position of power and authority, and so you think, oh yeah, they know what they're talking about. They are smart. I can believe them. But then there were a few times where someone said something and I didn't know how I felt about that, but then I thought, well, she's my teacher. She knows, right? I specifically remember in 5th grade, we were talking about being polite and how if someone asks you how you're doing, you say, fine, thank you. And I hated that. As a little 5th grader, I thought, that's not very polite. I feel like if I say fine, that means I'm brushing it off or I'm not actually fine. I think it's totally okay to say good, thank you, rather than fine. And she was very adamant that fine, thank you, was the most polite way to say it. And I remember thinking, no, that's not true. But then it was also hard because I had to fight myself of, well, she's the teacher, she knows, right? I think obviously that stood out to me because I remember it many years later. Therefore, it's important for me to share with you that it's not always easy trying to decide and cipher through what's important and what you want to learn and what you want to apply to your life versus what you want to maybe look into more to see what you believe and what your stance is on a certain topic. Especially in college, it can be difficult to know exactly what a professor is saying and whether that's truth or not, and whether you want to listen or whether you want to apply that to your life. Because like I said, I almost wrote it down. I almost was like, oh, that's so good, and then thought, wait, maybe that's not what I think he's saying. It takes courage to say something even if you're not sure. And I feel like that's always been me in classes. I've always been the person that's raised my hand and talked, even if I wasn't sure if that was the right answer. I just did it because that's just who I was. And I want to continue to do that. There's value in being brave. And that kind of relates to the quote of the day today. And this is actually from Anne of Green Gables, which I've been reading. I think I'm on book 7 or something, but yeah, I've been enjoying reading them. They're so cute, and I feel like I've actually learned a lot from them. The quote is, next to trying and winning, the best thing is trying and failing. And I think that's true. That one professor I told you about that says K a lot, he said the other day, if you're going to fail, fail greatly. And then he also said to someone, she's like, I'm probably going to fail. And he's like, well, if you're going to fail, fail greatly. And then she said something, and he said, well, you failed at failing. You succeeded. And I thought that was kind of funny and astute. And then the word of the day is agog. It's kind of a funny word. I'm pretty sure I found it in Anne of Green Gables somewhere because she uses older language that I haven't heard before. So I have to look up words all the time. But anyway, the word is agog, and it's an adjective. It can also be an adverb. And it says very eager or curious to hear or see something. And I'm very agog. I'm agog about this semester. I'm excited, I'm eager, I'm curious to learn about the family and marriage and about the lifespan and development. I'm excited to learn more about the Savior through Institute Choir. So I'm very agog about the semester. I'm very excited, I'm very eager, and very curious. I challenge you to use agog this next week somehow. I think it's a fun word, and the person that you say it to is going to look at you weird, and it's going to be great. So I encourage you to do that. I think it'll be fun. Thank you guys so much for listening. I'm really grateful for you and for the support that I have Don't forget to embrace imperfection, find meaning, satisfaction, and joy from the journey. I'm Kyra, and this is Imperfectly Broken, the podcast.